Welcome to Delta Green, God's Teeth, brought to you by Black Project Gaming. Get read in at blackprojectgaming.com. I'm Vince, your host and handler for this campaign. Joining me are Cami as FBI Special Agent Sarah Hart, Doug as Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent Gerrald Swenson, Jack as Special Agent Adrian Selivanov with the FBI's Computer Analysis Response Team, and Sonia as Dr. Leah Caron with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. God's Teeth is a campaign of unthinkable horrors, written by Caleb Stokes for Delta Green, the role-playing game. For more information on Delta Green, please visit delta-green.com. Music in these episodes is brought to you by Cryo Chamber and Epidemic Sound. This podcast contains depictions of and allusions to violence against both children and animals, as well as unnatural horror, graphic violence, and adult language. As a result, it is intended solely for mature audiences. Listener discretion is strongly advised. So for this segment of God's Teeth, we will be covering the time period of May 2016, following your final showdown with Thomas Perez in the swamps of southern Florida, all the way up to the summer of 2020. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown. You all will have the opportunity to engage in 2 personal pursuits each. The benefits for these pursuits will be increased due to the amount of time that we're covering. So for instance, you will get a 20% bonus on each of your rolls. You'll double any gains or losses in both bonds and sanity. And if you decide to improve a skill or a stat, you'll add 20% to that skill or 2% to that statistic. If a skill was at 0 and you're learning a new skill, it'll change to a rating of 40% instead. And even a failed roll will still add 3d6 to the skill or +1 to the statistic. So we are giving freely and liberally here in the lead up to the final chapter of this campaign. But for starters, we are going to begin with Dr. Leah Caron. Now, Leah, are you still residing in Atlanta, Georgia, still employed with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or have you decided to move on following the events of White Teeth?
I believe she's going to move back to Boston, honestly. The South is too much. She is a doctor. She can open a private practice, and I think that's what she's going to do. She's going to try to get an affiliate, probably just open a private practice and just be seeing patients on her own time, probably collaborating with 1 or 2 more physicians to open a joint practice.
When do you foresee that happening? Do you foresee that happening immediately after you all return from Florida, or is that later on in the time frame?
So I think for 6 months, I think this happens. I think she's pretty decisive in not staying in the South at this point, especially with everything that went on, and so she's going to head back north and stay there for a while, at the very least, kind of build some roots there.
So in the wake of the very bloody, murderous, violent events in Maryland, in North Carolina, in Florida, you pull up roots, you leave your position with the CDC, you move up to Boston, and you open a private practice with, you said, a couple of other physicians?
Yeah, probably in the area that she contacted and networked with, and just, joined a practice and started working with them, and then probably getting her name on the door later on.
Family medicine, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I think she's looking for a bit more chill vibes for a little bit.
So for your first personal pursuit, what would you like to engage in?
I think it's going to be fulfilling responsibilities. I'm reconnecting with her work, her job, and then her family, and just because she did deteriorate her bond with her husband a little bit, and she wants to just grow a little closer again with him and concentrate on her personal life.
Go ahead and make a SAN test. 47 under 65, so that is a success. Go ahead and roll 1d6.
5.
So with your charisma being 14, you can bring that bond up to 14.
Okay.
So what does this look like? How do you reconnect with your husband? How do you rebuild and reinforce that relationship?
So I think after the kind of hectic time she had, basically traipsing across the states, fixing what had happened, I think she had to keep a lot of secrets from Elijah. And then I think that further, her relationship was further a little bit damaged by her unexplained uprooting of them to Boston. She was like, I can't stay here anymore. She leaves her job. She goes, basically finds new routes. And while they don't have children, so it's not as difficult as it would be for some other people to completely uproot a family. It's still probably difficult for him to find a new job, to find a new, everything, just to manage everything, new house, new everything. But I think after the 6 months are over and she's gotten herself settled into her new position, I think she acknowledges the fact that she uprooted them both and had thrown their lives into chaos for a good amount of time. And I think she basically does the equivalent of whining and dining her husband again. It's not like love bombing, but she's definitely being extra considerate, being the woman that he fell in love with and stayed for.
I mean, so essentially just always be dating, always be courting, and returning to that courtship phase of your relationship and trying to get back to basics.
Yeah, rebuilding that trust, rebuilding that dependability.
What does Elijah do for a living?
My thought was that he's the novelist, she's the breadwinner.
What sort of material does he write? Is he a fiction writer, nonfiction?
I think he delves into fiction, but he picks her brain a lot on the things that she writes. He's realistic fiction, writing books about different crimes and things like that. So he goes down those true crime binges and down those spirals.
So that's interesting. Husband is a crime novelist, writing crime fiction. What did we tell him about our time away?
She had basically blamed it on work. And she told him that these expenses were on short-term notice and not covered yet by company, but would eventually be. And she basically moved money around so that she could cover for everything that she had spent money on and he had gotten notifications on bank accounts. And I think she basically said, this is a case I couldn't refuse for work. I was consulted, but then also, there was classified information that I was related to previous work in her military career. So she can't tell him anything. And that made him understandably annoyed, angry, and also, probably annoyed at the very least, and probably in a big huff at her for a while, especially with, these pings and these, she's going all over the place and doing God knows what.
I would say even with the assertion that a lot of the work was classified in support of the Department of Defense, possibly connected to your previous work as a military doctor, that might have made him more interested. The second you say something is classified to someone, they end up wanting to ask more questions. So how did you assuage his curiosity?
I think this is part of the reason why his relationship dipped with her a little bit, is because she refused. She just straight up said, I cannot, and I will not speak of it. I know you're curious, but I cannot, and I will not speak of it.
Good answer.
Because she doesn't want him exposed to any of this bullshit. Not in any way, shape, or form.
Now, for your second personal pursuit, what would you like to do?
I do think in the moving and in everything, she probably moves away, grows even more distant, probably from her niece, Caroline. And in doing so, while she's doing this, and she's going more into medicine, but also she remembers how much shooting they did, how much investigating they did. So I think she's going to try to improve her firearms.
Beautiful. Okay, go ahead and make a firearms test.
Success.
43 under 56. Go ahead and add 20% to your firearms.
That's now a 76.
So tell me what this looks like. How does Leah go about improving her capability with firearms? Is it just a matter of going to the range and training on the same fundamentals she had been taught in the Army? Or is this more, taking lessons, taking classes, getting more in depth into the more advanced tactics, techniques, and procedures?
I think it is definitely probably honing her skills. I think she knows it's a little bit not a little bit suspicious, not more suspicious, but like she knows like going to the range a couple times to keep her skills sharp is a plausible excuse to, or at least her husband. But it does, you know, like taking actual classes, I think he'd get more suspicious. So I think she's just going to try to like hone in like what she knows and what she's able to do.
Add that 20%, bringing it up to 76, looking good on the firearms front. Now, during this time span, of course, the entire country is racked by the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. And being a doctor, you are likely at the front lines of that response. Do you volunteer to work in a local hospital?
She probably does. She probably goes right to the ED, like whenever like signs up to help and relieve the ED doctors there with her own experience as a military doctor. She can do some cowboy shit, as they say in the pit.
What is daily life like for Leah at that point?
So what probably happens is most of her primary practice turns to telehealth visits. And she spends her physical time likely in the ED or in like an ICU and helping out doctors and relieving doctors, doing procedures and doing... The COVID-19 for a pandemic was a lot of respiratory-based illness. And the burnout wasn't just because of the patient's population and what the sickness they had, but the ability for the doctors to actually like the gowning and the isolation and everything like that for the patient. So she's going to be doing her best to help manage like some of the burnout for the ICUs, like be another body there to help if you need to prone a patient, things like that.
How has Leah been sleeping during this time?
Probably not well, because she still remembers those monstrosities that came out of the swamp. She remembers the eeriness, honestly, of the whole situation. The question of whether she truly has free will or whether she was always going to end up here. And if that was the case, was she always going to end up in this situation every single time? Did they ever have a choice? And that haunts her nightmares.
It gets worse. During the pandemic, while volunteering at one of these local hospitals, maybe a local clinic, there's a break room in this particular facility where you find yourself working. And despite all of the improvements and all of the new construction that has been tacked onto this existing structure, the break room itself still is in this very old 70s style. There's wood paneling, stained carpet, barely repaired ancient couches, each still reeking from when even doctors could smoke at work. And you notice the ceiling tiles are even yellowed like the filters of old cigarettes. The one noticeable modern improvement is this new flat screen TV mounted on the wall, obviously sticking out like a sore thumb amidst all this old, borderline derelict furniture. And the station remains tuned to a single internal broadcast network for the essential workers in the facility. It mirrors a broadcast from Fox News, but every half hour, a message from Mike Pence's COVID-19 task force plays on repeat. By Health and Human Services mandate, this message plays for all federal programs deemed essential to the public health response. The short video is a canned speech thanking the workers for their service during the current crisis, supposedly written by Mike Pence himself, but read by a female staffer into the microphone, playing over this slideshow of Pence press packet photos. You go into this break room. Set the scene for me. Who else is there? Are they wearing masks? I'm assuming so. Why go to the break room at all?
You have to go to a break room. You have to take a second and like gather yourself. You can't not, even with how much of a disaster is happening around you, you have to take a second for yourself. And I think when she goes there, it's probably at like ass crack at 3 a.m. or something like that, if she's like pulling a night shift or something. And I think maybe 1 or 2 other people are there, maybe a fellow doctor or a resident, or like a nurse or a PC, like a patient care technician would be there, but not many people would be there at this time. I think she's at least wearing a surgical mask, and I think many people are still wearing their surgical mask, though I think probably 1 or 2 of them have like it off to the side, or if they're eating or drinking or something.
While you're in this break room, taking this precious moment for yourself, you notice that this strange static afflicts the television feed as soon as you enter the room. The public address ad plays again, and you look at your watch and notice it's outside its usual time slot. You can practically recite it verbatim at this point. You've heard it so often. And it gets stuck, looping a few seconds of Mike Pence ascending the stairs to a plane. The audio is unmuted, and a phrase repeats with the loop. "You are our heroes." Over and over again, oddly slowed and distorted like a dirge.
I think she squints at that and focuses on it.
It continues. "You are our heroes. You are our heroes." Over and over again.
Are the others noticing that?
They are. One walks up to the television and smacks the side of it, checks the cabling, kind of throws up their hands in exasperation.
I think she pulls out her phone, but if they keep going on, I think she does get out of there, yeah. Goes into the hall for a second and just looks at the time, makes sure the time is passing and she's not going cuckoo bananas.
As soon as you leave the room, the regularly scheduled broadcast continues.
And she notices as soon as she leaves the confines of that space, it continues.
As soon as you leave, it goes back to normal.
If she pulls anything up on her phone, does her phone do anything?
No. Phone works exactly as it normally does.
She enters the room again.
That strange static anomaly and the image of Mike Pence climbing those stairs returns to the screen. "You are our heroes. You are our heroes." Looping.
I think she nears the TV at this point. Do the others leave at this point?
Some have. Some are so immersed in either their phones, their meals, just those very scant few seconds they have to themselves to return to some sense of normalcy before going back into the fray. Don't seem to have noticed it. But eventually everybody does leave, leaving you in the room alone.
I think she gets closer to the TV and tries to change the channel or do something to it.
You notice the image fades to black as you change the channel, very briefly, but the same image and the same sound returns.
I don't feel like a hero.
"You are our heroes. You are our heroes."
What do you want?
Same soundbite is all you hear in response.
At that point, she just puts the remote down and steps away. Did you notice anything else or out of the ordinary, or that's it?
Just as soon as you leave the room, you can hear the broadcast cut out, a slight blip of static, and the return of whatever was on before you entered the room. Now, considering how long the pandemic went on for, and how long you were likely volunteering at this particular facility for, what do you do with this information? Do you ignore this anomaly? Do you avoid the break room? Do you try to do more research on this strange effect you seem to have on this TV?
On this singular TV. This is the only one I have an effect on. I think she would do some research on how old the building is and when were the most recent renovations and things like that, specifically of that room, if she can.
You find nothing of particular note in your research. The facility is old. It's an older hospital in downtown Boston. It's been in operation for decades at this point, probably since the 50s or 60s at least. It's been modernized in bits and pieces, but nothing that could possibly explain what it is you're experiencing.
Then if she can't find anything on her research to possibly explain this, then I think she's probably going to just avoid that break room. That's not going to be a break room she goes to anymore.
Yeah, staying out of the break room is easy. No one in the country will question ceaseless, tireless working, particularly now. There is no rest to be had save that dreamless sleep between shifts. But with you avoiding the break room, the phenomenon does not repeat, and no one questions your behavior. But You do lose 1 sanity from helplessness.
Yeah. All right.
And that brings us to Bear. Bear, where do you end up during this time frame?
I think Bear is going to stay in Georgia, where he was before. Basically, at this point, he just feels that he doesn't really have the ability to make a big change in his life. So he's staying in Georgia where he was with the Department of Homeland Security. He's got a fairly stable job doing gun training of new recruits. Probably one of the few things that he does in his life that seems like it's going okay.
Now, for your personal pursuits, I believe you wanted to go back to nature for your first one.
Yeah, I think this would kind of be, like a combination of a hunting trip, but, mostly just being out in the woods and doing manly things, being an alpha male out there, shooting animals and shooting at targets when he can't find any animals to shoot at.
Go ahead and make a sanity test.
That is a fumble. 77 out of 44.
Well, thankfully, with the 20%, that's a 57 over 44. We'll just treat it as a failure. So even with a failure, go ahead and add 2 sanity.
Nice. That is a very limited resource for Bear. I'm back up to 46.
You're back in nature. You're exercising your, I guess, masculinity, for lack of a better term, seizing control of what you can, exerting that power over inanimate targets, over animals, over the hunt, and recentering yourself a little bit.
Definitely trying to, but maybe not with the best of methods for doing so. I think, Bear during this time, he's really focusing on what he perceives as manly pursuits. Being an alpha male for the first time since he was in his 30s, man. He's fitting into, some old jeans and he's starting to take off some weight. But he's doing that with a lot of exercise and supplements and stuff like that.
How old is Bear now at this point?
Bear is 55, is 56 in 2020.
But with the back to nature pursuit out of the way, what would you like to do next? If I recall correctly, you wanted to potentially look into the piece of the Yellow Rider's speech that had been in a language you couldn't understand, that Adrian was able to identify as Middle Egyptian.
Right. Yeah, I think Bear is really going to focus on that. A lot of things stuck with him from this last mission. A lot of things that have angered him and left him feeling afraid. And anything that makes Bear afraid has to be conquered in his mind at this point. There's no room for fear. There's no room for doubt. That's not how men behave. And so he has to know everything he can about that creature that confronted him and that speech that he heard. He is obsessed with it.
Go ahead and make a bureaucracy roll, and I'll give you a 20% bonus to that.
Okay. 27 out of 65. He's pretty good at getting his way around the system.
Yeah, so you're able to easily identify an expert in Egyptology with the University of Georgia's anthropology department in Athens. And you're easily able to call up, get an appointment, and drive up there to meet with this individual. And you sit down with the doctor, this professor, and how do you explain this request to them?
Yeah, I think on par for Bear when he's doing these sorts of things, he probably is sitting in the waiting room, waiting to see this guy. when it dawns on him that he can't just throw this thing on the table and say, what does this mean? That there are going to be questions. And so he does his best to come up with an excuse. But I think his reasoning is just that, yeah, Doc, I was working on a case and this crazy person, homeless, they were spouting a lot of stuff, but this didn't sound like crazy or made up. It sounded like real. And somebody told me that you could help me with it. What can you tell me?
So this professor, a Dr. Morgan Baxter, has you repeat this phrase numerous times, which isn't difficult for you. This is something that's been etched into your memory since that encounter at the trailer park. And he credits you with your ability to reproduce the sounds that were made and the accuracy with which you are able to recount what it is this individual said. And he seems more alarmed by the fact that this homeless person was speaking, or at least attempting to speak, what he very much confirms was Middle Egyptian. He briefly theorizes that maybe this person had been a professor himself in a previous life or some other academic. But he takes the information and he consults his books, and it takes him maybe close to an hour to work through, to figure out what words may have been meant by certain phrases and certain intonations. And finally, he, with a very perplexed, very confused look on your face, he sits down across from you and says, well, I've been able to translate it. It's a little unusual, but as best I can figure, this individual said, I do so miss the games we played in our dalliance amongst the children of Atlantis.
Is that normal, Doc? Atlantis?
Not particularly. The Middle Egyptian period was about 2040 BC to 1782 BC. And the first mention we have of Atlantis as a location was from Plato in 360 BC. So, definitely odd.
Yeah. Is the language here used, is it like a literary form? Is it a common form? Is it something, that the priest would use, or is it something ordinary people would use?
The Egyptian was one of the earliest known written languages. Of course, it was hieroglyphic based. There was a spoken language component. It was the primary vernacular of the Middle Kingdom period, and it remained the literary language of Egypt until Rome. So everyone spoke it. But no one's really spoken it since, apparently, except for your crazed homeless man.
Yeah. Well, do you think he was talking to me?
With this kind of context and content, he probably was. I just don't know if he knew who he was talking to or what he could have meant. Did you say he was suffering from some kind of mental affliction?
He was off his rocker, Doc. He definitely was not all there.
It's a shame what societal conditions will do to some of our most vulnerable.
Yeah. Sort of like evolution, right, Doc? You gotta cull the herd sometimes.
He just gives you kind of a odd look and says, that's certainly one way of looking at it, sir. Yes.
If there's nothing else that you can tell me about it, there's not anything else, is there?
No, I don't believe so. Unless you have anything else, many other pieces he may have uttered in this language, or...
Bear is now thumbing through a notebook that he probably shouldn't even have, and he certainly shouldn't have out where other people could see it. Have you ever heard of Bast?
I have, yes.
That was another thing this guy mentioned. Bast. Bastet.
Yeah, also known as Ubasti or Bubastis, goddess of ancient Egypt. Possibly of Nubian origin. Worship may have started as early as the Second Dynasty in 2890 BC.
Was Bast ever associated with bloody tongue?
I've never seen that imagery, either in hieroglyphic form or in any religious iconography. Nothing about bloody tongues or really any bloody appendages. Bastet was initially worshipped as Bubastis in Lower Egypt, originally in a lioness form, which was shared by her sister, for lack of a better term, Sekhmet. But eventually characterization evolved to where Bastet and Sekhmet were two aspects of the same goddess. Sekhmet was a powerful warrior, a protector, and Bastet, who was more and more represented and depicted as a cat, was gentler in demeanor, I suppose you can say. But nothing that I remember about bloody appendages or tongues.
If this Bast, would you say she was a overall force for good?
The Egyptians certainly thought so.
Yeah, but she seemed pretty nasty too.
Well, she was a protector, defender of the king, and also of Ra, the sun god. She was depicted as fighting this evil snake deity called Apep, an enemy of Ra. Solar connections, the sun, of course, being life-giving, supporting of crops, supporting of life.
But she was a protector.
Yes, also a goddess of pregnancy, childbirth, fertility.
I think Bear is like almost not hearing some of what the doctor is saying. He says to be a protector, she had to be strong, right?
Well, of course.
Damn.
That's how the Egyptians would have viewed her: fierce, devoted to the people.
Well, Doc, thank you. That means more than you know.
I'm happy to help. Please, don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything else or think of any other questions. This has been an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Wild. Well, thanks.
With that, you take your leave, and we fast forward. Eventually, you are called back to Washington, D.C. for a meeting with Homeland Security Investigations leadership to essentially justify your continued position at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center at Glencoe, Georgia. You hear a lot of corporate speak, a lot of buzzwords about up and out, upward mobility, forward momentum, career development. A lot of questions about what you would like to do next, or where you see yourself in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, considering how long you've been with the agency.
So Bear's been at DHS for around 17 years, something like that. I think probably part of the reason why Bear got called to this meeting is because he has had a few instances in the past couple of years where he has been called up for his explosive behavior. He rides recruits really hard. He has a tendency to use inappropriate language at times. He has a tendency to get mad at recruits for making expected mistakes, and sometimes he goes off of them. Some people will defend him because he's doing things like he's yelling at recruits for not using proper shooting stance or things like that, and that's a safety issue. And of course, he needs to scare the hell out of those guys. But it's been getting worse, and it's been noticed at work. But I think Bear, at this point in his career, he's looking to put in his 20 years and retire as soon as he can. The problem is, I think that he knows that if he makes that intention clear, that could make the remaining time that he has less good. It could taint the remaining time that he has. I don't know if that's in government work, if that's true, but
Yeah.
That certainly would be true in the corporate world. You essentially make yourself a lame duck. So he does not want to say that that's what he's doing, but that's what he's doing.
And they're able to read between the lines. And from what you can tell, they're more than happy to allow you to continue to, for lack of a better term, to rot at Fletzy. Because you are at the tail end of your career. You can count on one hand the number of years you've got left before you hit 20. And based on these complaints that have been received, based on concerns about your temperament, your demeanor, they don't see any value in moving you elsewhere, especially to an active field office.
Right.
So they agree to allow you to remain in place. They do counsel you on your conduct with the trainees, and they do advise you that should more complaints be received, it could result in your early termination before retirement.
All right. I mean, a bear takes that seriously, but I think also he kind of mutters under his breath, you know, kids these days are too fucking soft.
They do the typical federal government leadership bullshit where they start on a positive note, they do their counseling, and they end on a positive note. They thank you for your years of dedicated service to the department. They thank you for all the sacrifices you've made and look forward to the continued high quality recruits you are putting out into the workforce. But as you're leaving the building, as this meeting comes to a close, you get a phone call, and the caller ID says it's Tiffany, your daughter.
Oh, hey baby, what's going on?
Dad, are you still in DC?
Yeah, no, I'm just leaving the building now. What's up? Do you have a chance to meet? I thought you were busy.
No, I need you to get to my apartment. Something happened with the car. There's wasps, Dad, everywhere. I don't know what to do.
No, of course, honey. I'm on the way. Oh, shit. You moved. Yeah, give me your address.
And she does. What school is she attending?
I think she has finished school at this point, so she probably still would be living kind of like somewhere, you know, trendy in DC, maybe like Foggy Bottom or someplace like that.
Yeah, renting an apartment. But she gives you her address.
Yeah, Bear would still get a car. He wouldn't Uber around town. He'd get a rental car when he comes to DC, and so he would drive over to her place.
Yeah, you see Tiffany standing next to her car and, you know, arms crossed, pacing back and forth, obviously disturbed. And you hear them before you see them, this angry, droning buzzing. And looking at her car, for a second, you think she's had her windows tinted. But then you realize it's not window tint. The entire interior surface of the car is covered with wasps.
What the? Do you put some honey in your car?
No, Dad, I didn't put honey in my fucking car. What is this? Have you ever seen anything like this?
No. That's messed up, honey. So I think Bear's going to go over and he's going to try and open the door.
Go ahead and roll 1d6.
Oh, that's a 6. That's probably not what I wanted.
You lose that many hit points.
Oh my gosh.
As you reach out to open the door and you are immediately almost overwhelmed as these wasps pour out of the open door and begin stinging at you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think we just found out that Bear is allergic to wasps, or at least he will be after this. He certainly doesn't ever want to see a wasp again in his life.
It's not one or two. It's dozens and then hundreds.
Damn.
All burying their stingers into any exposed skin they can find on your hand, your arm, your neck, your face. The onslaught is immediate and it's violent. I also need you to make a sanity roll.
Okay. That is a success, 27 out of 46.
Okay, you lose nothing, but you're nevertheless struck by this realization that hearing Tiffany recounting how she found this. She was just going out to get groceries when she found it. There's no way the car was parked long enough for wasps to build a nest of this size. Even in the brief moment you had that door open and you could see inside, you saw that the floors and the seats were buried completely underneath layer after layer of honeycombed galls of drying saliva. It's a massive, massive nest.
It's like a nest. Holy shit. I think, so Bear really would want to take care of this himself. Especially, this is his little girl. He wants to show her that he is, capable of doing this. But getting stung this bad is no joke. He realizes that and he struggles. I think the fact that he succeeded his sanity roll probably means that he manages not to completely just go berserk. But I think Tiffany sees a side of her father that she never even saw when she was growing up. He is angry and bitter, and these wasps are attacking him from all angles, and he can't defend against them. He is enraged, and he probably turns to Tiffany herself. What the fuck? How can you let this happen to your car?
I don't fucking know, Dad. The car was out here overnight.
You can't leave shit in your car, you know that.
There was nothing in the car.
So you're telling me a bunch of wasps just came overnight and built this in your car?
Oh, I'm gonna call a fucking exterminator, Dad.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because your old man can't take care of it, right?
Do you see your face right now? You can barely talk. I should probably call an ambulance.
No, don't. Those things cost a fucking fortune. No, don't call an ambulance. They probably have a first aid kit down at the Homeland Security office. I'll go get it taken care of.
All right.
Oh, fuck. I think it takes him a while, but Bear calms down a little bit eventually, and he says, honey, I really wanted to help with that. I mean, that's what you do, right? You call your dad to smash a bug for you. Just a little bit more than, well, those wasps are too fucking much.
Yeah, they are.
You got any spray? No, I shouldn't fuck with it. I'm already swollen.
I'm gonna call an exterminator, Dad.
Yeah. You can tell that doesn't sit very well with Bear. He views this as a personal failure, but he's not so dumb that he doesn't know his limits, at least not with a 27 insanity roll.
Do you stay for the exterminator's arrival?
Yeah, I think Bear will stay. He has a flight out in the morning, so he'll stay. I mean, if Tiffany, he'll ask her, so Tiff, you want to have dinner? I was trying to get a hold of little Jerry, but I don't know. He's kind of pissed at me ever since I forgot about his birthday.
Yeah, we can, sure. She's very cold, standoffish. And then she says, Dad, you can't talk to me like that.
What? Huh? Oh, baby, I'm sorry. No. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't talk to you like that. I'm trying to work on that. But I don't know. Ever since your mom left, sometimes I lose my temper. Not proud of it, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And eventually, a professional exterminator does arrive. And it takes him almost the entire day to get rid of this infestation. One exterminator in a full Tyvek suit begins using every method and measure at their disposal to clear the nest from the interior of the car. He is clearly baffled by this. The nest was assembled so quickly that it was still wet on the inside, and the interior layers were coming apart like old butter. And from what he could tell, the wasps only solidified the exterior of the nest by cooking it with the friction of their movement. There were so many of them. He also measured the initial temperature of the inside of the car at 124 degrees Fahrenheit, substantially hotter than it would take to bake the whole colony dead. And yet they were still alive and still thriving.
Now, was that because of the heat of the sun, or was that the wasp body heat?
Mainly from the sun.
Okay, cool.
But eventually the nest is cleared. You and Tiffany go to dinner. She seems to warm slightly after your apology. But in your hotel room that night, flicking through the channels, you notice a news report about a fatal accident involving an 18-wheeler at an intersection near Tiffany's apartment. On the same way, likely the same route, she would have taken to the grocery store that she said she was going to visit. During the time, she would have probably been en route. Go ahead and make a sanity roll.
Ooh, a critical success with a 22.
You lose nothing.
Damn. Weird shit just happens around me. It doesn't faze me anymore.
Yeah. Probably just a coincidence.
Must be.
Sarah, what do these next 4 years look like for you? Where does Sarah end up? What does she get up to?
Sarah ultimately makes some pretty big changes in her life. I think she starts to set things in motion to head back home and realizes home is still kind of a remote cabin in Alaska, and just the way that her headspace has been towards the end of this job and this encounter where everything has been really obsessive and she hasn't been sleeping well. I think she has a moment of clarity that that's just not going to be good for her. And so she actually, I think, is going to go and see if she can get a consultation or teaching job at the FBI Academy. And she's going to stay in the lower 48, as we call it. And yeah, I think she distances herself from her nonprofit and consultation work on missing person stuff, just because, again, something that is triggering to the obsessive mindset that she had found herself just spiraling into, and goes to therapy, probably, and is just really trying to improve her sanity, frankly.
Are you going to be truthful, and how much are you going to tell them? Or are you going to lie?
I think she's going to be truthful in as much as like any other regular like FBI agent could with a case that, you know, they can't talk about. So I think she'd talk around things. She'd be clear that her stress was work related, and she'd try to convey that in a way that's not giving away too much information or anything.
So you lost sanity from a wide variety of sources during the last chapter. Just from conventional violence and also from the unnatural, especially with those things you saw in the swamp, which I'm assuming you leave out.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not telling the whole truth, but we're telling some. So, okay, go ahead and make a luck roll.
Oh, failure.
Yeah, unfortunately, with a 72 over 50, you gain nothing from your therapy. Where are you sitting at now, sanity-wise?
I'm at 41.
Oh, you know what? I'll be generous, and I'll give you 2 sanity back.
Thank you.
So the healing is limited by not being able to convey the entire truth of your experiences, but there's some benefit to these repeated and ongoing sessions, especially once you make it back out east and you find people that are skilled in working with law enforcement, people that have had experience treating people with your experiences. So, some success. Not much, but some. And what would you like to do next for a personal pursuit?
Next for the personal pursuit, I think that while she's there and kind of working a little bit more closely with official channels, I think that her and Pizzarelli end up working closely on more cases in the future. And that's kind of a connection that existed like before this job and is continuing after the job. And I think that, I don't know, maybe something sparks as the years go on between them a little bit.
So you accepted a position as an instructor at the FBI Academy at Quantico, right?
Correct, yeah.
And I think when we discussed last, you were going to live in Alexandria?
Yeah, yep. She's moving out there.
While you're not actively working cases as an instructor, we'll say that Pizzarelli knows that he can call on you to testify as an expert witness, especially when it comes to missing persons cases and cases of kidnapping. So he calls on you from time to time to testify as an expert in these kinds of investigations. Occasionally consults with you to review other agents' casework with, as they prepare for prosecution. So definitely bringing value added to the more conventional side of your relationship. So, since we're establishing a new bond, go ahead and make a charisma ×5 test.
Ooh, 10 out of 70. I'm charming as hell.
What is your charisma score?
14.
Go ahead and add Pizzarelli as bond with a bond score of 7.
Hell yeah.
So what does this look like? How do we build this relationship with Pizzarelli?
I don't think it's anything that gets rushed. I think Sarah approaches it kind of casually, not that it's not important, but that she, considering everything that went down and the things that they are both aware of in the world, I think there's probably a mutual understanding of some guard that needs to exist between there. But at the same time, it's kind of like we still have an entirely different job to do. Our lives still go on. The earth still spins, and we might as well try to kind of like make the best of it with that we can, I think is kind of her approach to it.
And one thing I did fail to mention is that, the attention required to successfully establish this new bond, especially with Anthony Pizzarelli. Go ahead and reduce one of your other bonds by 1. I'm assuming the Center for the Missing Child.
Yeah, that's pretty much non-existent now, since she kind of stepped away from it.
But one night, you and Pizzarelli are enjoying a quiet moment alone, we'll say, in a car somewhere. Not quite a lover's lane, but maybe in one of the many state or national parks surrounding the DC metropolitan area. And you all are chatting. And during a lull in the conversation, he looks to you and says, this is sloppy, right?
Don't get cold feet on me now.
Have you ever seen anything good come out of this?
I think there's a very long pause, and she kind of like shakes her head a little bit, but then kind of shrugs, like, I don't really care to follow other examples.
Yeah, I guess I don't either. And he surrenders to your charms.
Hell yeah.
But one morning, after the establishment of this new relationship, it's May 30th, 2020. At the height of the COVID-19 lockdown. The day before, in Alexandria, Virginia, the city began the first phase of the state's reopening plan. Outdoor seating at restaurants only. Businesses were limited to 50% capacity, but outdoor farmers markets were allowed to reopen, provided certain measures were implemented and adhered to. A mask mandate, of course, is still very much in effect. Every Saturday, Since the city was founded, there's been a farmer's market at Market Square in Old Town Alexandria. And for one reason or another, maybe you and Pizzarelli, Anthony, Tony, to you, find yourselves at this farmer's market, maybe just looking for a return to some sense of normalcy after forced isolation and the lockdown and having been prevented from the public environment for so long. Does that track with what you see for yourself in Pizzarelli?
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes sense.
Customers of all age groups, ethnicities are maneuvering through the stands scattered throughout Market Square. You can tell that there are probably more people here than there should be. There are 70 vendors offering everything from fruits and vegetables to hot prepared foods to meat, cheeses, breads. It is a bustling farmer's market. As you walk through, you notice people are walking their dogs and jogging. There are street performers, masked, of course, competing for the money of passersby. It's a sunny day. The sun is shining. Temperatures are rapidly approaching 80 degrees. But as you are enjoying this quiet moment, go ahead and make an alertness roll.
Success.
35 under 87. And one thing I did fail to mention, because the bond gains are doubled for this time period, the bond score at Pizzarelli is 14 instead of 7.
Okay, cool.
But with that success, go ahead and roll sanity.
Great. Success.
23 under 43. You lose nothing, but the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. This crowd is somehow wrong. Indescribably wrong. They do not move as an uncoordinated mass of people should. They flock as if they're choreographed, designed. Something about the whole scene reeks of a design, and it surrounds you. This has to be a trap. But in the next moment, a street performer blows a piercing trumpet note. Everyone in the crowd, shoppers, workers at the farmer's market, street performers, animals, joggers, everyone, they all look at you and Pizzarelli. The people begin forming well-rehearsed chorus lines as the dog walkers get the animals to perform tricks. You notice cameras peeking up from above the roof lines of all the local buildings as everyone in the area sings "Hello and Welcome Back" in a Disney-esque tune. The words circle, repeat, overlap in a hypnotic drone. The street performers have gotten behind the singers now, and they play this jovial ragtime tune with the rehearsed vibe of a band, trained to play even while the ship goes down. Hello and welcome back. The song reaches a terrible climax. The bystanders turned choral dancers, freezing in this chest-heaving final pose. How do you react?
I think right before it started, when she got the sense that something was wrong, she froze where she was, probably grabbed Pizzarelli's arm, and has since, her grip on his arm has tightened considerably, and I don't even know if she's looking to see how he's reacting, because part of her assumes this might be in her head at this point. And yeah, she's just on very high alert. Probably good she doesn't have a gun on her right now, honestly.
So no reaction just yet, just on alert.
Yeah, just extremely still and kind of probably scanning for danger.
You can feel this anger roiling off of Pizzarelli. You can see his jaw clenched, his teeth grinding. This look coming over his eyes of just smoldering, smoking rage. He doesn't move just yet, but eventually, you both jump as nearby doors from adjacent businesses across from the park begin to open, and scores of technical personnel for a movie or a television set pour out. Grips, ADs, craft services, lighting technicians come running from hiding like an army in ambush. This seems to surprise the actors in the crowd almost as much as you and Pizzarelli. Soon, hidden cannons rise from the scenery around you and begin launching confetti overhead, and an impromptu dance party begins. Hidden speakers play what sounds like the theme song to a cheesy reality TV show called Social Distance the Musical. And it's just then that somebody approaches you. A young, blonde, 20-something-year-old man with a cameraman in tow, shoving their equipment in your face. You've just appeared on Social Distance the Musical. I'm Teflon Boy, Chad Easley Saffron.
She's like, does not even let him hardly get a word in. I think she's like, 6 fucking feet, asshole, and like pushes him aside and tries to start to move away. Like, she's not here for this at all.
You push him, and almost immediately Pizzarelli is on him. He grabs both of his lapels in his hands and leg sweeps this Teflon Boy, this Chad Easley Saffron, to the ground. And he begins screaming all manner of obscenities and vehemence down at him. You cocksucking motherfucker, you, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And how do you react?
Assuming I've never seen him like that before.
You haven't.
I think she's stunned at first, but then after a couple seconds, maybe he gets a couple more obscenities in, I think she's going to try to pull him off of the kid. Like, okay, he gets the picture. Let's go. Let's just go.
As soon as he hears your voice and he looks up and you can see this snarl etched on his face, it immediately drops as he recognizes you. And he releases this kid underneath him. And you can tell it takes everything in him not to deliver a kick to this kid as he lies on the ground. He kind of smooths his shirt, stands and says, yeah, get the fuck out of here. And immediately, some producer, some staff member chases after you. Wait, will you sign a release?
I don't even respond to that. She's walking away with him and wants to have a conversation as soon as they're far enough away.
And you do.
Yeah, I think she just stops in front of him, and the look she has on her face is one that he's probably very familiar with. It's usually the one she wears in like the courtroom, like very serious, very discerning, very attempting to get a read on him in this moment. Like, what the fuck was that?
I'm sorry. Believe me, I that's not a side of me I wanted you to see.
Okay, well, it's not a great thing to hide either. How is this a problem?
Are you asking Tony or are you asking Deputy U.S. Attorney Anthony Pizzarelli?
I'm asking you, Tony.
Yeah, it's a fucking problem.
Are you getting help for it?
That's funny.
Don't.
With this job? No, I'm not getting help for it. I self-medicate.
How is this the first that I'm hearing of this? Do you not trust me?
Sarah, I trust you more than anybody else on this earth.
Okay, then tell me these things so fucking that doesn't happen in a shit ton of cameras again.
What do you want to know? That I have intermittent explosive disorder? That I'm addicted to amphetamines?
Yes. That's what I want to know.
I have intermittent explosive disorder, and I am addicted as fuck to amphetamines. And I don't sleep. I can't tell you the last time I had a full night's sleep.
She is quiet for a second, like fighting between trying to be consoling and trying to fix things. And after a second, just like shakes her head and takes his hand and kind of squeezes it reassuringly. Like, even though she's very upset, it's like kind of an understanding there. You can get help for some of this.
I know. But will it ever be enough?
Gotta try.
Yeah, maybe. You know, this is the price we pay, doing what we do. But would it make you feel better if I tried to do something about it?
It would make me feel better if you wanted to do something for yourself, to do something about it.
Well, I wouldn't be doing it for me, Sarah. I'd be doing it for you. Because if I could do it for me, I would have already done it.
Okay. Okay, try it for me.
Okay, I will. Do you want to, can we get out of here?
Yeah. Fucking hate theater kids.
You all go along on your way. Do you spend the night at your place?
Yeah, probably.
Sometime during that night, in those restless hours where you try to sleep, but know you probably won't be able to, and you can feel Pizzarelli trying to do the same next to you. Let me ask you this. Would you like to gain or ignore an unnatural insight? The insight will come with a cost.
Yeah. She's been so careful to try and set herself up for success in as normal a life as she can. I think in this current headspace, she would ignore it, even though I want to do it so bad. I think in this headspace, she'd ignore it.
Do you want to make a sanity roll to see if you ignore it?
Yeah, let's do that. That's fun. So if I fail, she does not ignore it.
Correct. Oh.
I critically succeed. Okay.
With a 22, a critical success under 43, you can feel this realization, this epiphany beginning to burrow its way into your mind. But you turn your attention to Pizzarelli. You turn your attention and your thoughts to this life you're building for yourself now in the wake of everything you dealt with in Maryland in 2001, in Maryland in 2016, in North Carolina, in Florida. And you ride those thoughts as far as they'll carry you until whatever it was that was begging to be observed, begging to be comprehended, fades. And we leave Sarah Hart and Anthony Pizzarelli there in Alexandria towards the summer of 2020. And last but most certainly not least, we return to Adrian. Adrian, let's talk about your eventual release from that hospital in Florida after recovering from your injuries. Shortly before you're released on your own recognizance, having healed and recuperated, you're surprised by a visit from none other than Anthony Pizzarelli. Adrian, you're looking better.
Well, what do I owe the pleasure?
Would you believe me if I said I just wanted to check on you?
No.
You did good work for me. You did good work for us. And I'm just glad you're walking away from this.
The PT has been hell.
I believe it. I definitely don't envy your recovery, but like I said, I'm just glad you came out the other side of this. I know things were tough there, but
Tough?
you know I can't be any more specific than that.
I know that you don't know how tough it was. So, just spare me the pleasantries.
Can I ask you a question and get an honest answer?
Sure.
Do you think I was always running agents like you guys?
My honest answer is that I've been in this bed, in this hospital, for far too much time that I care to be, and I have to admit that my answer to that question right now is I don't care.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'm just here to make sure you get home and get you whatever you need.
Well, the hospital here has been pretty stingy with the painkillers. They try to just load me up on ibuprofen. Maybe we could start there.
All right. See what I can do. What else?
What else do you got? I barely remember the rest of that night, and I haven't seen the others since I've been here, which I'm not surprised by.
Well, Sarah wanted to stop by. I made it clear that they needed to get home sooner rather than later. with the end result being what it was. So that's on me. If you're going to be resentful of anyone, please let it be me.
Oh, don't worry, I got enough of it. Is it the end, though?
Of this, as far as we can tell, yeah, there's a couple loose ends, but I mean, they're dead ends.
What do you mean, dead ends?
Well, there was that one other name that kept coming up. Starts with a C. Can't make heads or tails of that. Can't figure out who that individual is or where they've gone, but as of right now, they're not murdering people and pinning them up to garages at the sites of mass murders, so no harm, no foul. But we're not disbanding Masticate.
Adrian's expression darkens when Pizzarelli says that. So that means what I think it means.
Once you're in, you're in.
So it doesn't matter that I almost got my leg torn off by a crocodile, and he does air quotes when he says that. I'm sorry, alligator.
It matters in as much as it can. Yeah. That's why I'm here.
Fine, you want my terms?
If you've got them, I'll hear them.
2 conditions. You get my family out of DC. You relocate them somewhere safe. And you get me out of the East Coast.
Done. We'll get the paperwork done to make one or both of your parents your dependents, and we'll relocate you out west. What are you thinking? LA, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle?
LA is too bright. You know what? I've never been to San Francisco. Maybe there. Maybe that sounds good.
Okay. I'll put you in charge of the computer analysis response team at the San Francisco field office.
Can I get like a medal or something?
Oh, that's already in the works. You were pursuing a dangerous suspect as a result of an operation supporting the Miami field office. I'm thinking FBI star. That's the one we give to, folks who are severely injured in the line of duty.
Good place to start.
It's yours. Look, I know this hasn't been easy for any of us, and I know I've had to play the role, but you took care of me and you took care of our program, and so I'm going to do what I can to take care of you.
Thanks.
Anytime. Next time, say it with a little more heart. I wasn't quite convinced.
Well, the ibuprofen is just not cutting it right now.
I'll get you some Oxy.
Thanks. Was that a little warmer?
That was. I appreciate it. He's kind of smiling a little bit. You're a good kid, Adrian. Just don't get in your own way. You're good at this.
I think Adrian just lets it hang in the air, but he won't say anything back. And when Pizzarelli's finally out of the room, he'll just pull up his laptop and put it on his lap and start gaming away as much as he can until a nurse comes.
And when you do open up your laptop, you'll notice that airfare and travel arrangements have already been made in your name to get back home. And roughly a month later, after you return to Richmond, to the field office there's a ceremony where you're awarded the FBI star for wounds sustained in the course of your duties. You receive your arrangements to relocate to San Francisco, your assignment as the head of the computer analysis response team, the confirmation that your parents are now registered as dependents in your name, and all the benefits that come with that to take care of them in their advanced age and dubious health. And eventually you relocate out west as requested. And Pizzarelli proves to be as good as his word. But with that, with the 4 years ahead of you, what personal pursuits do you engage in?
I think the first one is in sort of echoing what Dr. Caron was going after. I see Adrian also working to improve his skill in firearms. He doesn't want to be left vulnerable again in case we do end up he ends up finding, other weird monsters who can eat him. So yeah, he'll be trying to improve his firearm skills.
So go ahead and make a firearms test. 30 over 23. Add 20% to your firearms.
Nice.
So after some intense self-education and training, obviously through the Bureau, you can probably find a way to spend government money to take some advanced classes. You begin refining your skills with firearms. But with that, what about the second pursuit?
Before I get to the second pursuit, I do want to address a couple things. First thing is my bonds. So, because I'm moving out, I imagine that my roommate bond, Eddie, is no longer going to apply.
Well, let's talk about that. Or would you say at this point you all were just roommates, or was there a friendship there?
I think we were friends. I think, we had maybe some like LAN parties and stuff like that here and there. I think one of the things that's happened as a result of relocating and being more involved in his career is that he isn't gaming as much, and so he's not like as active within those sort of online spaces. He still does it occasionally, but I think that like his relationship with Micah, his e-girlfriend, and Eddie, his roommate, probably have both suffered as a result of that.
Would you like to deduct some points from those bonds by choice?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead and roll 1d4.
1.
With a 1, just go ahead and deduct your bonds with Micah and with Eddie by that much.
And the second thing is, so as was hinted at during that discussion between Pizzarelli, I imagine that, and I don't know if it's an addiction quite yet, but I do think that he has been dabbling a bit more with like chronic pain, and as a result is, looking to things like prescription painkillers. I don't know how that would affect motivations or anything like that, but
yeah, so fortunately, with your sanity still being where it's at and not having reached a breaking point, we won't call it a full-blown addiction yet. However, we can say that Adrian is very steadily moving in that direction. And for now, his periodic self-medication hasn't devolved into compulsive consumption. But should you hit your breaking point at any point in time, that's what we're looking at.
yeah, I think what it is he sort of replaced his gaming and monster addiction, energy drink addiction, with more quiet nights at home now, and just sort of vegging out as much as possible, popping a couple pills and like just completely turning his brain off as much as it can.
Well, if you want, yeah, you can have that reflected in one of your motivations.
Okay. And then, lastly, I think he's going to stay a bit on the case. He's interested in following up about Conradin, and he is interested in the sort of occult aspects that he was able to translate when Bear relayed to him the Egyptian passage. I think that he would be interested in pursuing those leads as far as the case is concerned. Maybe even like trying to figure out any reports of any other sorts of cults that have similar themes or connections to Bast, or any similar deities that might have any either contemporary cult leanings or even like ancient occult leanings.
Go ahead and make an occult roll.
3 out of 51.
So as you begin digging more and more and finding more information available about Bast, now that you have a general idea of a time period, of a name to put to this entity, and begin kind of narrowing and guiding your search, what you find is that only correlative interpretation of scattered sources reveals the form and purpose of early worship of Bast. You find works by an archaeologist by the name of Professor Enoch Bowen, dubious translations of Abd al-Hazred's accounts of Bastet and Sekhmet in Al-Azif, and certain discredited etchings of pictographs found in a now destroyed tomb in southern Gebel-Dosha. What you discover is that the Black Rites of Bast began in southern Egypt in the late pre-dynastic age before 3000 BC. They were a codified regime of religious child abuse, sorcery, and torture. Priests of Bast enacted the mysteries of their cult on young orphans snatched from raided tribes or sold into slavery. Children were kept prelingual and carefully monitored to prolong their pain without reaching death. The victim's animal pain called out to Bast. The goddess sent warriors, called her teeth, to avenge the children. The teeth followed the stench of sorcery and slaughtered the priests. The priests happily laid down their lives as sacrifices, offering their blood to make drunk their savior with the taint of magic so she might refrain from consuming the world. The teeth sought new prey, inevitably destroying themselves in a helpless war against unnatural chaos. Surviving victims of the Black Rites became the next generation of sorcerer priests. You also find that the worship of Bast has at times been associated with bizarre behavior in animals and children. In fact, it's unclear whether Bast finds any distinction between the two.
Oh, well, shit. Yeah, this definitely lines up with everything we've experienced and what they've told me about their previous experience. So yeah, it just makes me wonder how deep this goes and how long it's really been going on and what the purpose of this all is.
Since at least 3000 BC. Go ahead and make a sanity roll for me.
Yeah, I was about to say, this definitely makes him feel insignificant.
14 under 62.
Yeah, but not too insignificant.
Yeah, I'll say you lose 1. But that's what you find.
Question. So what, as a computers expert with the FBI, what would the work situation be like during the pandemic? Would he be working from home? Would he be still having to come into the office? What would that be like for him?
During the very early days of the pandemic, we'll say March when the lockdown started into April, you were primarily working from home. And then once a battle rhythm was established, rotating into the office periodically at times when not everybody would be there to kind of stagger attendance and stagger the amount of people that are going to be at the office at any given time. So kind of an even split between being at home, being at the office. And usually when you're at the office, it's a skeleton crew.
That makes sense.
But during the pandemic, why do you think Adrian would be out late one night walking? What drove him to break isolation?
Good question. Would it be too extreme to say that because he's been a bit of a pill popper, Ambien is obviously one of those pills? And so I think that maybe he's a sleepwalker now, or at least has a tendency to do that under the influence of certain medications.
Well, say you're conscious. You're not exactly in the throes of a full-on sleepwalk, but...
Yeah, it's just he's not fully in complete control of his faculties, but he's not a full-on somnambulist.
You leave your apartment and you begin just walking aimlessly under the influence of whatever chosen substance, Ambien, a copious amount of Oxycontin or Percocet, pick your poison or several poisons. And as you walk down this San Francisco street, maybe it's a suburb just outside the city, but near a lonely streetlight, you see a few moths fluttering about the warm glow. There's a raccoon across the street sniffing at a plastic bag in the gutter. Starlings are feasting on gnats above a cooling patch of asphalt. You can see an owl flying high overhead, silhouetted in the moonlight. There are no other humans around. Every other door and window is closed. You don't hear the sound of any passing engines. There's only the chirp of insects hiding in the grass. And then there isn't. The sound stops instantly. The raccoon flops onto its back, twitching. The starlings dive hard into the pavement, dead long before the dander of dead gnats flutter weightlessly down to joy them. The moths spiral down dead from the streetlight. The owl streaks downward, soundless, colliding and breaking its neck and head against a nearby building. In a second after you thought about how empty the streets were, all life within your sight has ceased instantly, and the silence is overwhelmingly terrible. Go ahead and roll sanity.
It's more like it.
71 over 61. You lose 1. How does Adrian react?
He watches the moths flutter down lifelessly. He hears the thud from the raccoon falling into the dumpster or what have you. He hears the kind of cracking of the neck of the owl. And as he's standing there in the street, just absolute quiet. All the bugs have gone. There's a breeze that goes by. It's not chilly though. It's not warm. It's just he feels it against his skin, and there's no temperature to it. It's almost as if like it's the gentle caress of something unseen. And he stumbles around, just sort of, looking around in a circle, just sort of surveying the street, looking back up at the lamppost, seeing that there's nothing hovering there in that light anymore. And his eyes just glazed over, just keep looking up at the light. And it's almost as if he's looking into the light, as if hoping some answer will come out for him. As if some sound might cut through the silence and save him from all of this, but it doesn't seem to come, and his eyes start to well up, not in sadness, but in frustration that there is no salvation here.
We leave Adrian there, staring up into that light, waiting for an answer that won't come. At least not one that we, with our evolved lingual minds, can understand. It is now July of 2020. You all go about your daily duties and activities with your respective jobs. Sarah, instructing a new class at the FBI Academy. Leah, working in your private practice. Adrian, working with the computer analysis response team, pouring through the detritus of another seized hard drive, trying to pull whatever actionable data you can from it for the investigating agents. Bear, training these kids, some of them who have never touched a firearm in their lives, on how to accurately and overwhelmingly use violence in the performance of their jobs. But one day, Sarah, you get a phone call from Pizzarelli.
Yeah, I answer.
Hey, unfortunately, it's business, not pleasure this time.
Right, what can I do for you, Mr. Pizzarelli?
That's cute. I need you all to... Fuck. Everyone's kind of scattered to the wind now, aren't they? Look, we got a lead on one of the missing, if you know what I mean.
There's a very long pause. Okay.
We got a tip. It came in anonymously from the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. It seems bogus. The zip code and the phone number that we pulled from it match Immigration and Customs Enforcement headquarters in DC, but the risks they're too great to ignore, and I've gotten approval to activate MASTICATE.
Okay. Guess it was going to happen eventually.
If you can round up the others, I'll start making phone calls, paving the way. I'll send you what I've got.
Yeah, no, I'll track them down.
All right. The tip came from a guy named Lee Jarnigan. He's a professional gambler living in St. Louis. You've got plane tickets to St. Louis in your inbox and a warrant for his house.
What was the tip?
You got your email open?
Give me a minute. Then, just open it. Okay, what am I looking at?
It should just be showing up in your Roll20 now.
Uh-oh.
The victim's information is listed as 1 Scribe Life 420. The victim city, Washington, D.C., the zip code 20024, the phone number. All of it links back to Immigration and Customs Enforcement headquarters in D.C. Their email, scribelife12121.ofmailer.net. Information about the subjects who allegedly victimized him is identified as Connerton in some fucking icebox, probably. An email, a phone number, and an IP address are all provided. In a description of the incident, the tipster writes, "Look, don't try to find me. It won't work. I'm too good for that shit. I'm an essay farmer. I help rich kids cheat college papers for money. I've done it for years and served a lot of people inside whatever building this goes to, but one of them was about to do something awful. I worked with the guy through college at Duke between 2011 and 2016. He used the handle Conradin. He ended up getting a job doing something at ICE, I know because I wrote his application. Then I stopped hearing from him and forgot about it. A few weeks back, he gets back in touch with employment applications for these 2 other guys. He wants me to make them look cool for Fed records, but he doesn't have the language skills to forge it. He thought he redacted the names in the PDF, but I got edit access in the original file. I'm officially warning you, these freaks he's trying to sneak in make the assholes you got in there now look like Mr. Rogers. I've done digging on at least one of them, and he shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a playground, not to mention running a government child prison. And it's more than that, I think Conradin has gone crazy, the bad kind. I got Conradin all wrong and regret having any hand in this. I'm coming as clean as I can. He cheated his way to a diploma, lied on his resume, and submitted fraudulent employment applications. Plus, I've attached screen grabs of all the weird shit I found about the guys he's trying to hire, and a link is provided. Should be enough to strip his degree and fire him. Keep it quiet for all I care, but he cannot be allowed to continue doing this. It's bad even for monsters like you. So, fuck off. I didn't vote for you shitheads. Do your fucking job for once and stop something awful. Don't waste time trying to find me." Attached are 2 employment applications from the Immigration and Customs Enforcement portal. One belonging to Alan Rapp. To the question, "Why do you see yourself as a good fit at ICE?" he writes, "I've seen what you are, and I know what you do behind your eyes when you see them. I think you are all doing what I think you are doing behind those walls. I would like in. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? In young skin, resplendent like you. The world is changing and we can be what we are now together, forge a heaven behind bars." Were you referred to ICE for hire by a current or former ICE employee? I chickened out of the whole school shooting thing, but then I saw you and your organization and dreamt of something more long-term. For the application for 1 Terry Smedley. Why did you leave your previous employer? I was the target of an extremist left-wing terrorist attack of misinformation perpetrated in cooperation with the liberal media. Additional comments. I would like to thank the real American patriots that run God's country, the ones too smart for cancel culture bullshit, and dedicated to the belief that a white, pure American people must be preserved for generations to come, now and forever, MAGA. With these applications in hand, with this tip in hand, you all inevitably make your way to St. Louis to confront this tipster, Lee Jarnigan, who identified himself as Scribe Life 420. And with that, we will bring this session to a close and open the next with your meeting with Scribe Life 420. Thank you for listening to Delta Green, God's Teeth, part of the Black Project Gaming podcast. If you like what you heard, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or a comment on YouTube. Be sure to visit blackprojectgaming.com for previous and future Delta Green episodes. If you'd like updates on all future releases, please follow us on Blue Sky or Facebook. Until next time, I'm Vince, your host and handler, with Cami as FBI Special Agent Sarah Hart, Doug as Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent Gerrald Bear Swenson, Jack as Special Agent Adrian Selivanov with the FBI's Computer Analysis Response Team, and Sonia as Dr. Leah Caron with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Thank you again, and remember, we'll be seeing you.